working with over 5 startups in 2025, I came to realize one thing, that most of the founders I've worked with, they're smart people. They have the strategy, they have the structure, everything is set, but they have one challenge most of them experience, and that is when it comes to the issue of finance.
123 Finance is my why. I felt like this was my calling. I was finally stepping into my purpose. I wake up every morning changing people's life, empowering them to build generational wealth and generational wellness. I want to know how to save. I want to know how to invest. I want to do this. I want to do that. Do they have a budgeting strategy? Do they have an emergency fund? They don't have the right mindset. I truly believe that if we want to do it, we can do it.
You and I both know how important the issue of finance is when it comes to running or starting any new business. And that's why when I was thinking about who should I bring as the first guest on this show, I couldn't think of any other person than the guest I'm about to have a conversation with, because she have gathered years of experience in the area of finance. So this discussion you're going to be listening to is going to change the way you think of finance. It's going to change maybe your belief right now, but I'm looking forward to hear your comment, to see your comment and see how this episode really impacted you. So you're welcome to the show. Have a feel one year. Welcome, Alexia, to the show. I am so happy that you agreed to come on the show as the first guest. But before I go ahead to talk to you about all the things we've planned to discuss, I would like you to personally tell the listener at home who you are first before we jump into this conversation.
Hi, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for the invite. First of all, I'm so happy to be here today with you. I'm Alexia. I'm Congolese, born and raised in France, in Paris. I'm a human being, passionate about dancing, boxing, and traveling. It's been 6 years I'm in Canada, and I'm a speaker, financial literacy educator, and the founder of 123 Finance, which is a bilingual business, Toronto-based, where I empower underserved communities through fun, inclusive, and engaging financial literacy. So I work with nonprofit organizations, social clubs, university, and what I'm offering is financial literacy experiences that are fun and engaging, because everyone should be interested in building their financial journey.
Nice. So now you guys have met Alexia. I would like you to tell us, why do you think most people struggle when it comes to the issue of finance?
Wow, there's a lot here. I feel like, first of all, there's a clear lack of financial education.
Okay.
So there's a lack of financial education at school because we don't learn it. I was lucky enough, actually blessed enough, to do a master's degree in finance and be around people that are learning finance with me. So that's why I'm comfortable learning and talking about it now. But it's not the case for everyone. If you look at my sisters, for example, they didn't go to university to learn about finances, right? Yeah. So the first part of financial education is done at school. The other part is done at home with your parents, with your family, with your loved ones. Unfortunately, when you grew up in an African family, and you might tell me after if it was your case, I personally grew up in a Congolese family in France, and we didn't talk about finances, right? Because money is taboo. Money is for evil people. Don't talk about money. You have some money, take it. Don't ask for too much. All of those, financial trauma, they are passed from generation to generation. So there's definitely something here.
Wow. That really is touching me personally from different angles, but we'll definitely get to a lot of those things. If we want to just put a little summary, at the end of this discussion, the person watching at home, how can you summarize what they will take home at the end of this conversation today?
I think they will have a clear idea and a framework about how to start your financial journey. And also they will come to realization that they have to do it for themselves, otherwise no one will do it for them. Because if you look at your personal financial journey, spoiler alert, but no one cares. Your
Interesting.
friend don't care, your parent don't care, your financial advisor don't care, your banking advisor doesn't care. You have to do it for yourself because no one cares.
Wow. Now I'm just really pumped to get into this conversation. Yeah, because looking at everything we're going to learn, yeah, I'm super, super pumped. Which brings me to this point. You mentioned that you went into finance career as a result of finding yourself in a banking environment accidentally. You get a part-time job there and it kind of changed the way you think, and all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm gonna do this. So what was it about that environment of working part-time that made you feel like you needed to be in that finance space?
I know it's funny because a lot of people, they've been asking, okay, where did you start your journey in the financial industry? And I clearly started randomly. It's the truth. For the Canadian people that are listening, I was working in France in a store similar to Loblaws. So I was a cashier, right? And then at some point I went into downtown and I had to go to my bank. So I go to the bank and I do my thing. And I see this little advertisement, like they're looking for a part-time student for the weekend. And I'm like, oh, why wouldn't apply? Let's do it, right? So I apply and then randomly I get the job. So I transitioned from working at Loblaws as a cashier to working at the bank, as a tailor.
Wow.
Right. So that's, you tell that to your parents, like, oh, my daughter, she works at the bank, right? It's prestigious, right? Like a light environment and all that. So, I really enjoy that part. But on top of that, for me, it was more about the growth and the advancement. I have really a growth mindset. And for me, learning about new things, what is a credit card, what is a line of credit, a mortgage, how does insurance work, the savings account, investment account, all of that, right? I was what, maybe 20, 22, something like this. And I was learning all of those things and going back to my family telling, hey, I know this, I know that. So for me, it was really about, growth. I went to working at Loblaws to now working at a bank and learning all of those things that we never talked about home.
Yeah. Which I wanted to ask a question, but you have kind of hinted on the answer about what that conversation was like at home when you got that banking job. But obviously you mentioned it was something the parents would be proud of, like, yeah, my daughter is in the bank, and which is cool. But growing up in Paris by those parents of an immigrant parent that didn't clearly have that financial education that you have, I want you to paint us a picture. What was the conversation around money looking like in the house? Like, I know you've hinted on it briefly before now, but what was that picture like? What does it look like?
So I grew up with my mom. I didn't grow up with my dad, right? So with my dad, there were no conversation about money at all.
Oh, okay.
Simply no conversation about money.
Okay.
And with my mom, there were conversation about money, but it was more about, okay, you have to save money. You have to save money just in case something happened.
Yeah.
Or to buy your property. Because my mom, she never had the ability to buy your property, real estate.
Yeah.
And so she was like always repeating us, I never had the opportunity to buy your property. So I want you to buy your property. I want you to buy your property. So we had that pressure with my sisters and I to buy your property, to buy land, real estate, right?
Nice.
So it was the conversation was directly coming from this, buying a property or saving just in case something happened. So it was coming more from a scarcity mindset than from a building wealth mindset. Right? It was more like do something because I didn't have the ability to do it. But it was not about building wealth and all that. And just a reminder for people who might not know, the scarcity mindset is the idea that the resources on the world are limited, whether we're talking about money, men, women, whatever. It's the idea that we lack of those resources.
It's very good that you pointed that out, because there's one thing I try to do in this show. I would like a situation where maybe if you mention a concept that seems ambiguous, I might ask you to break it down for the person listening at home so they kind of understand. I appreciate you pointed out breaking down the scarcity mindset in that angle. So now let's shift a bit back to the European banking system that you found yourself. You graduating from private banking, you graduated as a private banking student, right?
Absolutely. So I graduated in 2015. This is crazy. It's been 10 years.
Oh, okay.
And yes, I graduated with a master degree finance, option private banking and wealth management from the Université Paris Dauphine.
Okay. Okay, now being in that prestigious environment, what does it feel like being the only person? I know at the time, maybe did you have other Black women in your work environment
A
at the
few,
time?
very few. At the bank, where I was working, no, it was only white people and then me.
Oh,
And at school, we were maybe 3, 4 Black people, women and men.
okay, okay. So now when you are now working, I want to know, was there a time where you felt not fitting in, like maybe someone did something that made you feel like you're the minority because you didn't have other people like you in that environment? Was there some times like that?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, I feel like there's a thing where you're the minority. It's just the environment, not necessarily the people, but the environment, the fact that you look around, it's just you and few people. You feel alone. You start questioning yourself. Do I belong? Why is there not other people looking at me? And then, you have that doubts coming and imposter syndrome. And sometimes it's not coming from the people. It's just you look around and you're just by yourself. You're like, what am I doing? They're not looking at me. What am I doing here? Do I really belong? So there's this huge part. And another part that bothered me specifically once when I started at that university, and it was coming from actually one of my friend there. She was a white girl. And, I was telling my friend, hey, by the way, I worked at a bank before. I got that job on the weekend. It's amazing, learning a lot. It was not everyone that got a job before going to university. And she said something like, oh, you're blessed, you're lucky because, they saw a Black girl and they were like, they were in the need of filling their quota and you were a good Black girl, so they hired you.
Oh.
That was crazy, Maya. I'm telling you. And this girl was part of my small group of friends.
Like your inner circle.
You know what I mean? In the inner circle, my friend telling, not even someone I don't know. And I was like, wow. And at that time, I didn't have the posture and the character I have now. Because you're also part of a minority. You're Black. You don't want to be the angry Black woman and start yelling and all that. So I just took it in and I didn't say anything. But I went back home broken inside. I was like, what am I doing here? And this reinforced the feeling of, do I really belong? Should I be here?
Yeah.
I feel alone. I had doubts, imposter syndrome. Maybe she's right. Maybe they had quota and they needed Black people. But we know that in France, we don't even have that. It doesn't exist, right?
Like, why did that come up?
I know.
Wow.
And it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. But you know what? I want people to understand that I'm still here at the end of the day.
That is what really matters, right? You're still here. 10 years down the line, you're still here. I love that. I love that. Now, thinking of when I was doing research, I noticed at age 27, you got your first house, which was a nice one. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to know, given your background, you mentioned earlier your mom didn't have the opportunity to get her own place like that. When you eventually hit that milestone, what was that feeling for you? Was it just as a normal real estate, or did it open any loop in your mind, like something? What was it? I want to know that feeling you got.
Well, I felt like I belong. Let me tell you, I do belong here.
Yeah.
First of all, I feel like he felt like a great personal accomplishment, growth, advancement. I'm a landlord. I bought a property at 27 years old by myself 2 years after graduating. This was huge for me. It was also, I was proud to tell my mom, hey, you always told me to buy my property because you weren't able to do it. I did it, Mom. I bought my first property.
Nice.
Super proud of myself.
Nice. So was that the reason you felt at some point that, okay, fine, I think it's important for me to educate people about finances, and you started doing finance literacy stuff and kind of try to educate your family around that?
There's part of that. And I feel like by doing this, I'm also kind of healing a part of me, like, the part about financial trauma that were passed from generation to generation. Thank God I went to university and I learned about finances, and I was around other people always talking about money and investment and savings and all that. So I had no choice. This is what I'm studying, literally. So I have to do it. But I know it's not the case of everyone,
Yeah.
And what I'm doing right now is financially, I'm having a better life than my mom. And I know that my mom, she had a better financial life than my grandmother. And my goal now is that my niece, she has a better financial life than me. So what I'm doing right now is I told my sister, you have to open an account for my niece. Let's say like insurance. We would call it an insurance policy back in France, where I put 300 euros. I told my sister, you have to put, even if it's just 50 euros every month, put that money in. I'm going to handle that account. And when my niece, she's 3 years old right now.
No.
I forgot that detail. She's 3 years old.
Oh,
and I
wow.
opened the account maybe 2 years ago, 1 or 2 years ago. And I'm handling it. And when she's going to turn 20, 25 years old, she's going to have all of that money. And
Interesting.
I want everyone to understand that this is the deal. This is what we're supposed to do. Build generational wealth and generational wellness, because the two are different.
Oh. No.
The
Okay.
two are different. I don't know if you know the difference.
Not really.
Building generational wealth, it means I'm going to buy a property, I'm going to pass it on to my children, or I'm going to grow an account, I'm going to pass it on to my children. Like I'm passing on assets
To them instead of
them.
yeah.
Right? Now, generational wellness is I'm passing on financial mindset, a specific money mindset, growth money mindset, abundance money mindset. You have to save, you have to invest to grow your money. Right.
Okay.
Budgeting strategy, what does that mean? Look at your expenses every month. Passing all of those good habits to your children, nephews, nieces, sisters. This is generational wellness. Because you can pass assets, but if the person doesn't have the right mindset, they'll blow it.
Wow. That completely makes sense. Like, okay, you're not just teaching them how to fish. In the second scenario, you are showing them how, you're not just giving them fish, you're teaching them how to fish at the end of the day, giving them that mindset that they can also pass on, because giving them the money is cool, but when they burn it out, it's out. But giving them the mindset is something they can now also pass on to the next generation. Wonderful. I love that. That
comparison is the best. This is exactly this.
Yeah, wow. That's cool. So let's fly you down to Toronto in 2019. You came down to Canada, right? And you ended up with RBC Wealth Management at the time.
You've done your research, eh?
Oh, thanks to my team. Yeah, I did. And I realized that you ended up with wealth management. I wanted to know, Canada has been known to be more of a multicultural environment. Was there any same feeling like what we mentioned earlier, you finding yourself in that place and still feeling like, no, people yet are trying to treat me differently or something? Was there that kind of feeling?
Not really. Not really. And that's why I always tell people Canada changed my life. Really. And in both countries, I've lived in France, Luxembourg, Canada. In any country, you have pros and cons. In France, I had pros, I had cons. In Canada, I have pros, I have cons. But when I came as a Black woman working in the financial industry, I really felt like I belonged. Even if when I came, obviously, like every immigrant, I faced this whole, oh, you don't have a Canadian experience, you have to go back down, And I came from Luxembourg. I was working with high net worth individuals with this amazing job with private bankers. And I came here and they were like, no, entry job level because you don't know anything about Canadian finance. And they were right. It's completely different. So I had to learn, right? But after that, once I learned for 2 years at Fidelity Canada, I got this amazing job at RBC Wealth Management, which is the biggest bank, Canadian bank, right?
Nice.
So that was amazing. And I didn't get any of those racist behaviors. I feel like here in Canada, I don't say that there is still racism everywhere, but I don't feel like it's in your face the same way in France. It's in your face even more and more. I don't know if you look at the news, but more and more France is going backward. I don't really understand what's going on with people.
Actually, yeah. I completely agree. Last year, I spent I was flying through Paris. I had to stop at the airport for a couple of hours, like almost like 10 hours. And I had the opportunity to kind of walk around. But I realized one thing was true, which is I think the French people, they are very stern. Like, they don't try to make they don't hide the fact that they don't like you. Like, that feeling, like,
straightforward.
like, you are different. They just make you know you're different. We don't like you, man. So yeah, I completely understand that. With the food, the French culture, I think I do. I've experienced that personally.
Exactly. The French culture is really straightforward, in your face with everything, whether it's racism, whether it's, against other religions and all that. So I grew up with this. So coming to Canada, where as a Black woman working in the financial industry, everything is open to me. People are treating me well. I have amazing opportunities. I have this open-mindedness where I can be an entrepreneur. I can launch my business. I can work in a bank, but also on the side, I can be a professional dancer too. This is one of the things I'm doing. And in France, they put you in a box where, oh, you're working in banking. You do banking all of your life, and that's it. You don't do dancing because what is dancing, or you don't do entrepreneur because what is entrepreneurship? You basically don't have money. You don't get money, right? Because every 2 weeks you don't have a paycheck. So when you tell that to my mom, she would be like, oh, you're not working because you don't receive a salary. And the open-mindedness of Canada really changed my life. And also another thing with Canada that I love, it's like community. Black community, women community, whatever community you want to be part of, you can do it. And it's empowering, right? You go in France, you try to do an event for Black people, a gathering for Black people. They're gonna look at you weird. They're gonna be like, oh my God, what are you doing? You're an immigrant and you're doing your thing. But here, if you look at organizations such as Black Entrepreneurship Alliance or BPTN, OPCD, we were there. We met last time.
I was just about to mention that,
A Black gathering, Black conference for Black people working in the tech industry. And it's crazy. And companies are going there to hire Black people. This is super empowering. You can't do that in France.
It's really great here. It's good that you mentioned that community angle in Canada because, also I am an immigrant here in Canada. And when I came in scared, like, am I going to fit in? But then again, you mentioned BEA, that totally changed my life. BA gave me that structure of starting my first cleaning company in Canada and setting up my AI implementation company.
And this is how we met.
And that's, and it kind of gives you that availability of a supportive environment for you to grow. And that's completely true. But from all you've explained, something is very clear to me. you found yourself to be a natural when it comes to being in the wealth management environment in Canada. But it also led me to that question or that curiosity point of what was that thing that happened that made you realize that, okay, I don't really want to continue here. I think it is time for me to do my own thing.
I think there's a lot here. So when I was working at RBC at some point, I felt a disconnect between who I was becoming, being in Canada, and what I was doing at RBC. I also experienced a little bit of a mix of bored out and burned out, where, after 4 years, you do the same thing and you're just like, should I stay here? It's just like, I feel like I need something new. And then the more and more I was helping rich people getting richer. And, I was helping all of those private bankers helping their clients. And you look at the files and you see money growing, coming. It's like, wow. And this is something that I didn't see in my community. I don't see it's happening for some people, but where I grew up, and I couldn't see that amount, that building generational wealth and wellness, all of that money coming in. I didn't see that. And I was like, there's something going on. And talking to one of my friends that was also working at RBC, but RBC Insurance, she didn't have the background of finance. And she saw me, when you work at the bank, you have all of those retirement savings plan or employee savings plan where from your paycheck every 2 weeks, you put money aside and then they match and all that. You can choose your investment.
And,
A lot of people, they have that. They don't do nothing with it. Again, because lack of education. You go at the bank, you have one meeting about it, an hour meeting, or they use complicated words, you understand nothing, and you don't do nothing. Because honestly, they use complicated words. If you don't have the education, you're just like overwhelmed.
Absolutely. I clearly understand that, because just like we were discussing earlier about the Diary of a CEO and Stephen Ballet's show, I was watching one of his show. There is this financial expert. I'm trying to remember his name. I can't really put my hand around it. He discussed this concept clearly. He made me realize, whoa. So many persons have the ability to make more money with their money in this employment benefit angle, but they're not doing it. They don't even have an idea about it. And that's interesting that you mentioned that, because a lot of persons don't really know how to go about that. But then you also mentioned something that I noticed you mentioned in one podcast you've been on, the She Money. You mentioned something about being tired of helping wealthy people get wealthier when there are so many people that need this knowledge, which led to your company now, which is beautiful. But for that person watching at home, having that urge to start their own thing, but they are stuck in their 9 to 5, they are either scared, I do not want to lose this money I earn every month, the stability, the prestige. How did you deal with all of that when you leave? Is there you made plans for it before you eventually say, okay, I'm going to leave? How was that structure for you?
That's an excellent question, because you know what? I feel like we need to be honest that it is scary.
Absolutely.
It is scary. It is a leap of faith that you're taking, right? Launching your business. For me, talking to my friend, I realized, okay, I need to do this because she doesn't know what she's doing financially. I helped her for an hour and she told me, oh, you explained the thing super great. It was easy, digestible, engaging. Now I want to do and work on my financial journey. That was amazing. And this is where I realized that, oh, I might need to do it as a business, right? So what I did is I did a lot of those entrepreneurs cohort while I was doing my 9 to 5. So you mentioned the Black Entrepreneurship Alliance. Yeah. There's another one for Francophone here in Toronto. It's called La Société Économique de l'Ontario. I did another Francophone one. It's called FAIR. So, I did one for Black entrepreneurs. I did one for Francophone and another one for Francophone women. So I was with different people talking about that project to coaches, to other attendees, learning a lot. And actually, I learned a lot about how to launch a business, what to do, what not to do, etc. And at some point, I feel like I was petrified by the knowledge. I was just learning and not doing. And I was like, you know what? Now you need to start and launch your business. So I registered I feel like I did all of those cohorts starting in January 2024, the 3 cohorts. And then in June, I registered my business. And I was, going to networking events and talking about it and talking to a lot of people. This is also where I started to build my brand, LinkedIn. I was never posting on LinkedIn because, when you work at a bank, they make you sign document. You got to be careful about what you post and all that. And even when you post on LinkedIn in a bank, no one does that. So people are looking at you weird, like, what is she doing for real? I'm telling you, people are looking at you like, what are you? Just posting on LinkedIn. There's this thing about posting on LinkedIn, but you know what? I started and I didn't. This is how I grew my followers and people looking at what I was doing and all that. And at some point, I was so talking about it. I'm gonna do it. 1, 2, 3 finance. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Then I lined up some clients. One coming from RBC, actually from one of my colleague I was working with. She because what I was working at RBC, I worked on this financial literacy program with her. Her name is Stephanie. She liked the way I was working. She knew I was interested in financial literacy. I kept amazing relationship with her. And as soon as she had an opportunity for someone looking for a speaker, she contacted me. This is how my first client came. Not from my website, not from the SEO strategy, from a recommendation.
Personal relationship.
Exactly. And that was amazing. So I had few clients lined up. And then I was like, you know what? I have few clients lined up for November 2024, which is November Financial Literacy Month. By the way, happy Financial Literacy Month, everyone. And then I had all of those clients lined up for November. So I was like, okay, you know what? October, this is the time for me to launch on social media and launching my business. I didn't have a website, just a logo that my sister did on Canva, the name and my energy. And I did it, right? But I need to admit that if you want to do that, you need to prepare yourself, whether with financial resources or knowledge. And when I talk about financial resources, I want you to start with the emergency fund. So the emergency fund is having 6 months to a year of living expenses on the side, just in case tomorrow you lose your job. How are you going to pay your rent? You need a family sick. You need to go back to Congo, France, or Nigeria. How are you going to pay that? Car maintenance. Something happened with your teeth. How are you going to pay that?
So the emergency fund should be prioritized when you're planning that.
Absolutely.
Good. That's a good one. Because I was really thinking about asking what really made you felt like 2024 was exactly the time to start. Because I know there's a lot of persons listening at home and they're in that place where they have been thinking about this business planning. In fact, they are in what I call the perfectionist loop. Oof. They are busy trying to make everything so perfect before they start. Good. So I just wanted us to know, like, what is that feeling that made you feel like this is it? I have to start now. Because I clearly knew when you started, so I can really speak to your growth, but I'm not going to do that. You're going to do it. So I just want to know what really made you make that move at the time you did.
So when I launched 1, 2, 3 Finance, I was still working 9 to 5, right?
Okay.
And then I felt this disconnect between what I'm doing at the bank. Every day I wake up, I go on those meetings. I don't really understand what's going on. I don't feel like I'm understanding what I'm doing anymore. Why am I even doing what I'm doing? And the work I was doing with 1, 2, 3 Finance, where I went on all of those panels, universities, talking to students and people that were telling me, "Oh my God, you're so good at making it engaging, and now I wanna know how to save. I wanna know how to invest. I wanna do this. I wanna do that," and having all of those people being empowered by my words. by my voice. And I felt like this was my calling. I was finally stepping into my purpose. 123 Finance is my why. I wake up every morning changing people's life, empowering them to build generational wealth and generational wellness. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm convinced of this now that I'm doing it. Definitely.
That's great. When I hear you speak about 123 Finance, and I also kind of take my mind back to a lot of your posts I've read on LinkedIn, something becomes very clear every day, that you are so invested in trying to change people's mindset when it comes to finance. And you've talked a couple of times about people having trauma around that topic called finance. So what do you think? I want us to break down what kind of trauma do you think most people likely have? I think we've actually touched this a bit earlier on about people growing up and parents saying, no, be contented with what you have. Because I personally knew I came from an environment where my mom would like, okay, fine, we have what to eat today. The next thing is just to have what you can eat tomorrow. Do not overstretch, do not overdo it. And yeah, so do you think most people having this environment have a chance of getting out of it? How will you advise them around that to get out of that place? Hi there. Before we go back to the show, I want to tell you something very important. As a founder, as a startup, you are growing, you're trying your best to get everything done. But sometimes you don't have the capital, you don't have the environment, the resources to build all of that. And it's killing you. I know when I was trying to build my first app, the developer said it was going to cost $100,000. I didn't have that. But now you're living at a time where AI is making so many things possible. And that's why the sponsor of today's episode, Chimney Studio, which is my AI implementation company, is doing everything possible to help the normal founder, the young startup founder who doesn't have everything figured out, to know exactly where to start. Basically, we walk you through the roadmap of your idea. Is it validated enough? Does the market want what you want? And when we come to a place where we believe that your idea can go to the market and succeed, we build an MVP for you to go out there and test this out. So if this is something you've been looking out for, feel free to use the link in the description of this video, and definitely we will love to work with you and help you build that idea to life. So let's jump back to the show.
I feel you when you're talking about all of those limiting beliefs and the way you shape the way your money mindset is the way it has been shaped by your past experiences, the way your parents were talking to you about money, all of that. And I feel like, especially as Black people, we have experienced a lot of those, taboo and limiting beliefs around money. And we need to fix it. So I see it more and more within my community. And this is really what I want to change and what I'm so invested in this, because I truly believe that if we want to do it, we can do it. A lot of people, they will tell you that knowledge is power. I don't feel like this is necessarily the case, because a lot of people here in Canada, they know what is a TFSA, what is a RSP, what is a budgeting strategy. Yeah. Do they have a budgeting strategy? Do they have an emergency fund? Do they know how to use a TFSA as they should? Not necessarily, because they don't have the right mindset. So that's why wherever I go, I'm always talking about those 3 steps to start your financial journey. It's understanding your money mindset, why you're having this money mindset, working on this, reshaping your mindset, whether it's working with an expert, whether it's journaling, listening to podcasts, understanding why you're having this mindset and shaping it. Shifting from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset. Shifting from avoidant mindset where I don't want to look at my money, I'm afraid, to positive money mindset, right? And then after you have the knowledge, you have to learn, whether it's attending one of my workshops at 123 Finance, listening to a podcast, reading a book, having a financial advisor, financial coach, you have to learn somewhere. If it's not at the bank because you don't trust them, if it's not at Google because you feel like it's complicated, there's a lot of resources. Other financial experts that are influencers. Me personally, I'm not an influencer, but I know a lot of them here in Canada. There's my friend Shay, Finance for the Culture. There's Reni Odetoyimbo. They do amazing videos on how to simplify what is an ETF, what is a TFSA, how to build wealth. So you have to start with something that's working for you. Some people, they like watching videos. Others, they're more like, no, I like to read. Other people like to listen, then do a podcast, Girls That Invest. This podcast. The Wealthy Immigrants here in Canada. One of my other friends, she's Nigerian. She does an amazing job. So you have to start somewhere and, have all of that knowledge. And then after, the last step is call to action. A lot of people, and we talked about it at the beginning, you told me what's complicated for people. Some of the people, they didn't get that financial education at school or with the parents. And then once they're grown, they have a fear of financial education. I don't know, what should I do? Where should I start? Some people, they don't know where to start. So every time I go somewhere, I will give call to action. So whether it's listening to a podcast, a book, or following one or two financial influencer, honestly, there's a lot. If you tell me you don't know any financial influencer, you don't know any financial resources, it's really because you don't want to do it. And as I told you, no one cares. If you don't do it, no one cares. Yes. You have to do it for yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Which is why I remember in one of the podcasts you did, you mentioned that there are certain pain points around money issues with women, entrepreneurs, and new immigrants. I would like to ask, what are 3 mistakes you've seen after being in that space for all this while, especially here in Canada, that you've seen most new immigrants make when it comes to finances?
There's a lot. If I have to choose 3, I would definitely say not working on their mindset and, being like, okay, having a fixed mindset. Money is not for me. I know that this will never be for me. I cannot grow. I cannot learn. We all learned. When you were born, did you know how to walk? No, you've learned how to walk.
Yeah.
Right? So, people having a fixed mindset and not wanting to learn. Another thing is doing something because my friend did it. Or she invested in this ETF, I want to invest in the ETF. Or she invested in that account, so I want to invest in that account. Your financial journey is your financial journey. It's personal. Yes, you can get help. You can have accountability group where we exchange advice and all that. But you have to understand who you are. Who are your needs? What is your situation? If you're a 9-to-5er or a full-time entrepreneur, or if you are a student part-time, you can't necessarily do what I'm doing as a full-time entrepreneur because your life is different. Your needs are different. Yeah. So, doing something because someone else did it, but you don't know their situation.
That I think is a very tricky thing nowadays.
Absolutely. It's crazy.
Because you mentioned that, sorry. Let me jump in there because I think that's the problem why most people haven't been able to start up their thing or not even knowing where they should be going in the first place. We have too many flashy things thrown at us every day. You see this person online, oh, this business is doing well, this person is doing well, and I feel like that business is going to really work out for me. But what you're not seeing is, you're not seeing the 10 years behind that person learning, going through a lot of different environment, the learning curve. You're only seeing the result of 10 years. And that's what most people do and jump into starting things that at the end of the day, you realize you're not even happy doing it because it wasn't based on your why. Your why was not well defined. So I really appreciate you mentioned that one should be focused on really what works for you and what really is functional given your immediate circumstances. So I think that's so rich. That's so rich. And recently, You graduated from a Grow class,
Yes, I
and
did.
congrats. You are. I see that. But while I was looking at that, I was like, what really will motivate her from finance to go think of things like copywriting, go things of that's marketing strategy. So why are you doing that? Like, is that normally what every other financial expert will normally do? Like, what's the logic? What's giving you the hint that, okay, I need to work on this area? Is there any part of your business is going to affect positively?
I mean, I don't know about the other financial literacy expert, but me personally, I have a growth mindset. I am a student of life. I need to learn every day, every week, every month, every year. I need to learn something new.
Makes
Especially
sense.
as a business owner now, where, I'm wearing all the hats. I'm the founder, I'm the speaker, financial literacy educator, I'm the marketing specialist, content, social media, I'm the bookkeeping, the bookkeeper, the accountant. I do everything. And you can't be an expert at everything, but as a business owner, this is your due. You have to know a little bit about everything. Because when you're going to go talk to this experienced accountant, is going to tell you, do this, and this. If you don't know nothing about it, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be dangerous for you. And that's the same thing for marketing. I studied marketing at school, but it was like a long time ago, and I'm not a marketing expert. Right? I never worked for a company doing their marketing, social media, and newsletter and copywriting, SEO strategy. I never done that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it because I want to learn. I want to know a little bit about marketing. And you can be the best financial literacy expert on earth. But if no one comes to you, your website or your phone number or your LinkedIn, you're not going to get work, and you're not going to be out there, right? And thanks to this training, now I'm able to, when I talk to a marketing expert, I know what is the SEO strategy, why is important to have a Google business page with a lot of 5-star review, what is it's important to have a good copywriting where you're talking about your ideal clients and not of yourself. Why is it important to do customer interviews? I did customer interviews. I call my past clients and potential clients, asking them, what are your pain points? What do you need? What are you looking for in a financial literacy educator? Where are you going when you're looking for a financial literacy educator? Is it more on TikTok, Google, or Instagram, or LinkedIn? So this helped me actually shape my marketing strategy.
Okay. Oh, that completely makes sense now. So basically, you are getting into the nuances that surrounds areas that you want to grow in, because this really makes sense. This is a challenge we experience at Chimney Studio, my implementation company, where we help small business owners build their AI strategy and kind of build systems for them. People who comes to us, or founders that comes to us and have a bit of technical knowledge of what they want to build, it's way easier for you to have a roadmap for them than someone who'd have no idea. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Just do something that works for me. Then you're going to come up with something they won't like it. Then we keep adjusting. So I clearly understand why you think it's very important to get at least an intermediate knowledge of what you're trying to do, because it's going to help you know what is best, good, or worst. Because if you don't have an idea, you won't know when someone is giving you stuff that are not making sense, right?
Exactly. And it happens to me. I talked to a few experts and they were telling me things, and I was like, no, I don't feel like this is the right thing for me because this reasons. And honestly, doing Grow Class has been one of the best top 3 best decision I've made since I'm a business owner. Yeah. And the founder of Grow Class, she's also a Canadian woman. And it's also super inspiring to see the community she's been able to build around digital marketing and all that. So even for me, as a financial literacy educator, I'm inspired by your journey to, build a similar community around financial education.
That's true. Talking about community, I notice a lot that you are big on community. I noticed you are even an ambassador for Be Future 2024. I also know you are in a lot of women communities and societies. You are in BEA, you are a big shot, in This future that just finished, I went to the Black Entrepreneurship Alliance, their table, and they gave me a flyer because I wanted to give it to a friend. And when I turned at the back, guess who was there?
My face.
Exactly, Alexia Kitoko. I was like, she is everywhere. So that really is interesting to me. I just want to know how much of your community building is more of I need to help people in the community, or is it more of a transactional thing? Like I need to have an environment or community of people that will know me, know my business, or possibly do business with me. What are the balance within that?
It's an excellent question because, if we look at my purpose, like empowering underserved communities through fun and engaging financial literacy, I will definitely be big on empowering the community, whether women from a social club, Monday Girl, whether women from other social club, House of Nine sorority, whether Black people at Black Entrepreneurship Alliance, and so on and so forth. The reality is that my first year of business, and I just celebrated my first year. I can't believe it's been a year already, and I feel like it's been more and less at the same time. But I've helped a lot of those people, and for a year it was a lot about building my brand and going out there and posting on social media, going at networking events and telling my name and all that. So I was building my relationship, my personal brand, online and offline. This is what I did, and for that I had to sometimes being paid the amount, less amount that what I was looking for, because also I didn't want my pricing to be to prevent financial education for Black people, or to prevent financial education for women, or to prevent financial education for women entrepreneurs. So I had to do all of those things, especially for the first year, to get some content, some feedback. Is there really a demand? Or maybe I'm completely the Lulu, right?
Yeah.
Getting all of those 5-star review on Google, building my brand and all that. I really needed that. And I started the first year with mostly community work, working with universities, social clubs, and all that. Now in my second year, and we were talking about it offline before the podcast, I'm willing to extend a little bit to work with corporations, and let's do team buildings, lunch and learn, game nights for the employees. And with those people, I will be able to charge more. And one of the business coach told me, actually, Alexia, your corporate needs to finance your community work. If you still want to do community work, at some point, money has to come in, and more money than what the community are able to pay, right? So that's why my second year is going to be on focusing on SEO strategy, Google Ads, to bring all of those clients, for example, employee from Bells or from Hydro or from Netflix or for whatever, do a team buildings about financial literacy.
Wow, I think that will be so good. Because we mentioned before, you mentioned some benefits that are existing to employees, but they don't really know how to use it. And I feel that will be really useful to corporate employees. And yeah,
absolutely.
I think it's where to go. And since we're talking about that, it's 2030, all right? It's 2030, and 123 Finance is exactly where you want it to be. What does that look like for you?
Wow, that's an excellent question. And I don't know if I should go all in and tell what would be my dream, or if I should keep it to myself, because there's this whole thing, African family, don't talk about your project. Hey, it's going to be a curse and whatever. So even me, I'm trying to reshift my mindset on this.
Before you even go there, funny enough, I was watching a video this morning, and they were talking about the studies that shows people setting goals, that someone who says, I want to do this, and just think about it to themselves, might be at, let's say, a 30% chance of doing it.
Yeah.
So they have like 70% chance of not doing it. But if they go ahead and write it down, that chances increase to about 70% of them doing it. But what really got me is that when they say that goes to other people, it raised that chance from 70 to almost 90% of them achieving it. So I know we've been trained with the mindset of, oh, don't tell people your goals, but psychology shows that when you tell people, you talk to the universe about what you're going to do, it kind of make you feel accountable.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I have it somewhere there. I need to work towards that. And you have that feeling of, even if I don't hit the sky or the stars, I will be somewhere close.
Oof.
So, yeah, I think
Absolutely. I think we watch the same videos.
so. I think it's cool. It's cool if you want to share a bit of it.
Yes.
It might not be all, but what do you think 123 Finance will be by 2030?
So right now what I'm doing is I'm focusing on B2B, right? I'm working with nonprofit organizations, corporations, social clubs, and universities. They pay me so that people like you can access financial education for free, whether it's a financial talk, speaking engagement, team buildings, or lunch and learn. In the future, I would love to shift to something that's more B2C, a B2C offering, let's say like a group, in a group setting.
Okay.
And I would love to create actually a kind of an academy for focused on financial literacy. And I would love to build the grow class for financial literacy, actually. You know, an online community where people, they can communicate with each other, ask questions, answer, give advice, get help, be accountable for each other. A platform when you can have online courses with every week you meet with a financial expert. You have like online videos that you can look for and learn about everything financial literacy, where you go. It's actually a transformation. You go from, I have a scarcity mindset, I'm avoidant with money, I know nothing about it, to okay, I'm now financially equipped, resilient, and independent to deal with my financial journey and to communicate to my family, to my children, to my friends, and all that. Because the goal is not to get information for yourself and that's it. You die and it dies with you. No, you have to pass along that information to your nephews, nieces, children, sisters, friends, neighbor, dogs, whatever. But the information has to go through. So I would love to create, I always say that 123 Finance is not just a business. It's a community, it's a movement that I'm trying to create. So in 2030, I would love to have that movement where, I have a B2C offering and people are empowering each other through this platform. I'm not exactly sure what it would look like, but something along the way.
Oh, wow. That is beautiful. I love the goals already. I love it already. And I'm very certain you're going to achieve them, because given 2024 and now, the speed at which you're going and the way you're knowing exactly what you should do at each point, it's beautiful. But before we wrap this up real quick, I want you to speak to the 27-year-old self of yours watching this, being in the fence, thinking, should I start? Should I not start? What do I do with my life? And I'm scared of what people will say if I start this halfway. I think I should wait a bit until I feel everything is perfect. I want to speak to that person. What will you tell the person that will really help the person, so that the person's 2026 will be that year when they sit back and like, wow, I listened to this podcast and she really helped me make a big move I was very scared of?
I think you have to be intentional with everything you do. Intentional with your dreams, your life, your goals. If you have dreams and goals, look at your life right now. Everything that you do right now, is it aligned to achieve your goals? Is it aligned to achieve the dreams that you have? Or is there a disconnect? If there's a disconnect, you need to be intentional with it. With everything, be intentional with your relationships, your community, the people helping you, your friends around. We always tell that, your five closest friends are a mix of what you're going to be, right?
Yeah.
If you're around people that always they're always negative, they have a scarcity mindset around money or anything else, and you're always there and being like, oh, I have a scarcity mindset too, and doing this with them, you're not gonna grow. you're not going to evolve. So you have to really be intentional with everything that you do and believing in yourself and your dream. Once it's going to be time for you to do it, you're going to feel it. And I can tell you that, if you would have told me 2 years ago or 5 years ago that I would be here in Canada having worked for RBC, launching my business, being a full-time business owner, and people calling me to pay me to come and talk at an event, people inviting me to talk on the podcast, I wouldn't have believed you. So sometimes you just have to sit and relax and be like, okay, what happened 5 years ago? Now I'm here. So imagine in 5 years, and this is the question you asked me, in 2030.
Exactly.
So I can't wait to be in 2030. I'm enjoying the journey. I'm trying to enjoy the journey, but I can't wait to be in 2030 because 5 years ago, my life was completely different.
So it has been fun so far. For the person watching at home who really wanted to connect with Alexia Kitoko, where can they actually find you and learn more from you?
I can find Alexia Kitoko, the founder of 123 Finance, at Alexia Kitoko on LinkedIn. So Kitoko, Kitoko, or on my business LinkedIn, 123 Finance. Or on Instagram, 123finance_. And they can also go to my website, of course, 123finance.ca.
Nice. So guys, I'm going to put all of that in the description of this video. Feel free to reach out to her. She is a powerhouse of value. I've personally been around this lady for the longest time, and I know you will enjoy working with her. Wow. I want to say thank you so much for being on the show. I have chills bumps and goosebumps everywhere because this conversation is in a lot of ways personal to me too, because a lot of things you're saying are things that personally affects me as a person, even as a business owner. I've been in business for a couple of years, but now I'm still hearing there's a lot of things I can really improve on in terms of how I look at finance. And it all boils down to mindset that you've pointed out. First of all, mindset. And you mentioned thinking about the people you surround yourself with and what you're listening to, which brings me to this conversation I watched from Cody Sanchez. I don't know if you know Cody Sanchez. She is one lady that does a lot of content around Wall Street millionaire, how to buy boring businesses. And there's this video she mentioned that when you are among lazy people, 4 lazy people, it won't take long for you to be the number 5th lazy person in the room. And if you are sitting within or among 10 rich or wealthy people, it's just a matter of time for you to become the next rich person in that circle. So it boils down to the people you surround yourself with is really going to go a long way in determining how your outcome eventually look like. So I really appreciate that. In fact, this has been a good one. But there is a ritual I want us to be doing on the show, which is totally copied from my mentor, Steven. And I would like you, this is not going to be on camera, we'll cut this out, but you will have to leave a question for the next person that will be on the show. So I'm going to get a question down from you that I'm going to ask the next person on the show at the end of the show. And say the next guest. So we'll do that. I'll get a question after this. But first of all, thank you so much for being here. It was lovely having this. And I know somehow we are going to have this conversation again because I think there are a lot of angles we can explore for for founders to think about finances in their life, to deep dive into some strategy. And I look forward to having you on the show again. So guys, if you are looking forward to see Alexia Kitoko come back on the show, let me know in the comment section. And definitely we're going to bring her back to the show. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Emmanuel. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.